Hello and welcome to the Holy Rivals Show. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me is my partner and soul brother, the Wild Ute. How you doing, Ute?
What's up, guys? How you doing today?
Doing okay. BYU and Utah both won, so we have things to shine about. Immaculate's here. He's representing Iowa. How did Iowa do, Immaculate?
Oh, we did all right this weekend. We did all right. No complaints.
See, there you go. I even picked against you, and you still have a smile on your face. That's good.
Absolutely.
All right. I appreciate everybody being here. Let me get through some business. We're going to dive right into a review of our first week 2 picks. Please, if you're new to the show, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know what we're doing right, doing wrong, anything we can change. Definitely subscribe to the show and then turn on the notifications. We really appreciate you guys being here for that, and it matters a lot to us. Up in the upper right-hand corner is the Crimson Collective's NIL. Scan that QR code, and it'll take you right to their sign-up page. That's something that's really important to both Ute and I, and we want to do anything we can to bring things to the NIL collectives for both Utah and BYU. In the upper left-hand corner is the wrong QR code. That's for one of my advertisers, which is BYU mini helmets. You can still scan on it, but buy a mini helmet from BYU brands. But yeah, that's the wrong QR code. But we're gonna get the correct one for Kukanet set up there, and we'll be able to do that one too.
Bomber, that looks pretty cool though, doesn't it?
I love the logo. Are you
Gosh,
kidding me?
That is pretty
It's
cool.
fantastic. When I told him what it needed to look like, he was like, "Okay, yeah, I think I can do that." So, yeah, it's a kick-ass QR code. There's no doubt about it. And I want to do a shout out for BYU mini helmets and getting that done to me. But we need the one for Coop Connect on there. Anyway, so let's jump right into our week 2 picks. Now, I know, Immaculate, you're the auditor. You're the one who kept us straight on that. So why don't you take us through the games, and we'll start with Utah Baylor.
All right, Utah. Oh, you want to go Utah Baylor, getting tough on me from the bottom. All right, well, on that one, there are 3 of us. We're talking about Moen as well, even though he's not here today. He was part of the picks on that. 3 of us went with Utah. 1 of us went with Baylor. Good job, Nate.
That was me. I went Baylor, okay?
Going one so far, but that's okay.
So can I say one thing about Baylor? I was really disappointed with their fans. I was really, the entire week, frankly, I tried a couple times to stir up some things, not from an antagonistic standpoint. I was actually cheering for Baylor. In fact, I think most BYU people were, and it didn't do any good. It was interesting because they're what? I don't know. Was it maybe a third empty Ute, or was it a full half? I mean, it looked really bad in the stands.
Yeah, it was like probably 2/3 full. But I think what happened is a lot of the fans went to one side of the stadium to get some shade. And so it looked worse than it was. But, I mean, it was no sellout, right? And there was a lot of Ute fans there.
Yeah, there was. That was very laudable. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So it was a good show out for the Utes. Yeah, but you're 0-1 in that one, Bomber.
That's all right. It's a pick 'em, and I have no skin in the game, so it doesn't matter to me. Really quick before we move to the next game, let me do a quick shout out to some of our people that have gone with us early this afternoon or this evening. Glenn Lumen's here. Good to see you, Glenn. Hope the Philippines is doing okay. Mm-hmm. Sergeant Pickles is here, and he says, "Good afternoon. How we all doing?" I'm going to highlight that one. We got AMAC. Howdy, y'all. The Big Lubbock. Texas Tech landed a 5-star recruit last night. That's pretty good considering they lost that first game. You guys got to keep good recruiting down there at the Big Lubbock. It's good to see you. Cougar Tracks is in the house. Says evening, people. Let me make sure I'm catching these. David Griffing says Texas Tech bang to hype ratio in the preseason was way out of whack. That's truth telling right there. That is true.
They didn't do all that bad against Oregon though.
No, they played great.
Yeah, it's not that. It's probably the week before. I mean, Oregon's really good. So there's nothing there. Jeff Fuller says, "Hey guys, how you doing there, Jeff? I saw you representing at the Alabama pregame. Did you guys see that ESPN pregame?
One giant BYU flag.
The BYU flag.
Are you serious? Was that Jeff back there?
It's on Twitter.
For game day?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, Jeff. My wife said like, "Hey, who's that guy in the back waving a BYU flag?"
That is Jeff Fuller, and I'm gonna shout out to him. That was fantastic, by the way.
He works there, right? He works right there in Tuscaloosa.
I can't remember where he worked. He told us. I can't remember.
He's in Alabama.
Tell us where you work again. But I know it's either there in northern Florida. He's fairly close to Tuscaloosa. But anyways, it was great to see him there for game day, and shout out to him and his family. They had a couple flags, and it was really, really cool. I wasn't expecting to see Jeff, but I'm glad I did because I wanted to remember that. That was really, really cool. We've got Craig Kirsch is in the house. Did everyone see the TV ratings for week's games? I did not. Do you have that with you, Immaculate?
Not on me, but
we could pull those up. But Colorado smashed everybody else.
Yeah, they did again. Yeah,
obviously Texas Bama.
He is a road show for sure. Pac-12 programs in here. Good to see you, Larry. Steve Ohio, Florida is here. Ag Biochemist is here. It's K-State versus Mizzou.
Heck yeah. Absolutely.
That's gonna have to be one of our games for the weekend, guys. We need to put K-State Mizzou down. David Griffin says they're 0-2 at Immaculate. Yeah, we know they are 0-2. Nobody wants to talk about that. Colorado killed it, David says, and then Jeff Fuller getting the shout out. Oh yeah, okay.
I can't believe Jeff was that guy still.
Yeah. Absolutely. He represents, right? He walks the walk.
Absolutely.
Which is fantastic. Mr. Monkey snuck in at the end of my announcement here. In fact, we got a lot of people here early. I'm surprised. Sergeant Pickles is here. NIL transfer era has made landing big-time recruits and at less fun. Do you guys know
way
what
less
that
fun.
means?
Yeah, I think this is saying NIL and recruiting.
Okay. Well,
it's all about like contracts now, right?
Very much
players.
It is. And then Jeff Fuller says, yeah, I live in Tuscaloosa. So there you go. Yeah. Anyways, Jeff, that was really cool to see. All right. What's our second game?
I sent you that page, by the way.
Okay. I'll look it up. In the meantime, let's go to the next game.
Well, we got the BYU game, and straight across the board, we all picked BYU. Not a big surprise on that one.
No,
they took care of business in that game.
And we're not previewing that game quite yet for this weekend. We will at the top of the hour. We'll be meeting with John Neighbors, who works for a radio station in Arkansas land. I'm not exactly sure. Is he in the main city where Arkansas is?
In Fayetteville? I'm not sure if he's in Fayetteville, but he's also locked on.
Right, yeah, and he's locked. Yeah, I was going to say that. He's locked on.
He's going to be fun. He's got big takes, guys. So, all you Cougar fans, you better repping today. It's Cougar night.
So I've got these up. If we have time, I'll bring up those TV ratings. All right. So everybody picked BYU. That was not a big deal. What's the next game?
Iowa State, of course.
And how'd we do? I think I picked.
I was on Iowa.
Yeah, we both went Iowa, and you and Moen went with Iowa State.
All right.
So we're sitting over here. We're at 3-0 right now, and
okay.
You're rocking the 1-2 right now.
Sounds great. Happy about it.
After that was the Oklahoma State-Arizona State game. We all picked Oklahoma State.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So good.
Keep it up. Good one
smart there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. We'll round that out with the smart pick of Texas A&M that we all picked.
Oh gosh. How disappointing was that?
That was a joke.
I'm never picking them again.
I hate Texas A&M.
I said I feel like I should take Miami, but you just can't pick against this A&M. Well,
you guys talked me into Texas A&M.
That was a bad move.
Miami.
I was watching that going, I can't believe this. This is exactly as I thought, and I didn't go with it. But
with no fans in their stands too, they couldn't even sell out that game. They were giving away free tickets. Man, I don't get this at all. Hurricane stuff.
All right, we're not going to deal with that anymore. And then was that the last game, or was there one more?
Oh, we got 3 more.
Oh,
the Nebraska-Colorado game. Both you and I.
I took Colorado.
And Philip went with Nebraska.
Okay.
Then we had Oregon, Texas Tech. You picked Oregon, Nate, and both of us lost with Texas Tech.
Okay.
And then, of course, another big loser was Bama.
Yeah. Didn't we all take Bama?
We did.
Okay.
We all went down with that. So it ended up being both of you guys, I do believe, are at 4-4, and I went 5-3.
Oh, yeah, right. Are you sure, Immaculate?
He's keeping score.
The math is the math.
Do we trust Immaculate out there, everybody? What do you think?
I got the math right here. You're just going to have to trust me.
All right. Let's, since we do have a little bit of time as we're running through these, I'm going to bring up the TV ratings since David wanted to sort of review these really quick. So I don't know why it says that. Save this busy. Anyway, Texas, Alabama. boy, a 4.5. That's really, really good. That's almost 9 million people.
Especially for the whole ESPN debacle with the charter.
Right, exactly, which is fixed, by the way.
Now it is.
The ESPN contract has been sorted out with Spectrum. Nebraska, Colorado, again, a huge number with two teams that aren't necessarily barn burners quite yet, Nebraska especially, but Colorado is a ratings whore right now.
Yeah,
there's
they are.
No doubt about it. Texas A&M, Miami. Now, this one surprises me because the game was horrible. Did you guys watch any of the game? I actually watched some of this game.
I clicked over a couple times trying to cheer on A&M to get going.
Yeah, A&M's got a big fan base, though. I'm gonna watch
it was one of the worst played games I've seen in a long time from two teams that are supposed to be really, really good every year. I don't understand that.
I think Miami might be the second best team, though, in the ACC this year.
They're good.
Definitely.
I think they might be better than Clemson this year.
I think Clemson's way overrated.
They still
but
got
they didn't score their first
guys,
touchdown until the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it took them a little bit to get going.
Look at this UNLV Michigan.
You skipped right over the Iowa game.
I did on purpose. I wanted to see what your reaction would be. Sorry. I'll go back to Iowa State.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
It's all right. It's actually
go ahead. Talk about it. It's your alma mater.
I mean, $3.38 million, not bad for two teams from small population state in the middle of the country.
Right. That's fair.
So, but I thought it was a good game. People who don't like defensive games, you probably thought it was boring. But I love them. I love not knowing and getting into it, and then when gets stopped, I love that kind of drama in a game. So for me, it was a great game, and I thought Iowa State wasn't really performing that well until the very end, and then they started coming back, and I started to worry a little bit. I sweated a little bit because that's how that game goes. But
I'm going to take. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say, but Iowa did a good job closing out.
Really quick, I'm going to interrupt here and just do a brief announcement. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Turn on your notifications on YouTube. That little bell, just click it, and you'll know when our shows are always on. If you want your message to be read guaranteed, you can make it a super chat. Otherwise, you can just do a regular chat like we've been trying to read. Or if you're one of the members of the channel, you can join the membership. Just go to the YouTube page, hit join. It'll pop up. And those we definitely do. We prefer those comments over others. Before we go back to UNLV, Michigan, David Griffin has a comment here. I think that's really, really on it about Spectrum. So Spectrum got everything they wanted from Disney. Disney gets a pay bump from Spectrum. What do you guys think about that at the end of the day?
What do you think, Immaculate?
I am thinking that Spectrum got a pretty good deal. Disney got a better deal than I thought they were going to get out of it. But according to, I had a little bit of chat with Bob Thompson, you may have saw on X, and it's kind of seeming to me like that one is a to be determined because a lot of other cable companies are now going to be looking to get the same deal. And where this might actually hurt them is not on the cable side of things, but on the streaming side of things, if they all of a sudden start having to give all of that away for free. So it could hurt them in another way, just not in these particular numbers. So it's kind of funny math. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Bomb?
I think that they need to do anything they could to get on television. They already lost 2 weeks of college football and 1 week of NFL, and I think that's just a nightmare. So
yeah, I can't believe the Florida Gator Utah game. They couldn't get that down in Florida because of Spectrum stuff.
Yeah, it's broken, right?
Broken.
I mean, the game of the week, and it was broken. So anyway, thanks, David, for bringing up that comment. We were going to sort of mention it later, but might as well do it now since we're talking about TV stuff. So very good. I appreciate you sharing.
So looking at the sports media watch here, so I'm just kind of thinking, like, remember in the offseason realignment, it's all about ratings, viewership, right? So I'm just going to prognosticate really future conference teams.
Sure.
Texas SEC, Alabama SEC, Nebraska Big Ten. We got a Big 12 team in Colorado, another SEC in Texas A&M, Miami, ACC, Iowa, Big 12, Big 10, possibly Big 10, Notre Dame, ACC, Big 10. I mean, like, it looks like, really the Big 10 and the SEC are kind of at the top of the charts, even though, the Colorado's the darling, and that's no surprise. I mean, that's usually what we try to expect and stuff. I'll be really honest with you guys though. This Utah Baylor rating of 1.31 sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Gosh, I don't get that. I mean, like that was in a good spot. I know it was going against Colorado, Nebraska, and that might be knocking
But it's
ESPN
down again, and they didn't have that thing fixed. You think about it,
man. That's wild because like I mean you're right about that.
I wouldn't worry too much. We'll see what they're.
I think that's Spectrum.
Yeah, we'll look next week. I mean, that's not going to be like. It's not going to totally blow that up into another stratosphere of numbers, but it would have been higher.
Even Florida, Utah got over 3 million. It was like 3.2, 3.3.
Yeah, that's SEC country there, though, right? And even that was depressed because of what happened with Spectrum. I wouldn't worry about it. I think this is just a contract dispute. I think you got a lot of people back east that haven't been able to watch ESPN games, and I think that number will go up by at least a third. That's my guess. Not against Weber. Not this week necessarily, but when you guys play your first in conference, and who is that? UCLA.
UCLA. It's going to be in Fox 2 weeks.
So I guarantee, that number is going to be probably around a 3 million, probably a 1.5 rating. That's my guess. So we'll have to see.
Go lift those numbers.
So let me just scroll back. This one really, this UNLV Michigan still got almost 3 million.
What a monster.
That blows me away that Michigan by itself, just being on TV, gives you 3 million views. It's insane. Because nobody's watching UNLV. There's no way any of that is UNLV.
I mean, you can see that Ohio State, Youngstown State got 1.22, and that was on the Big Ten Network.
Well, again, Big Ten Network.
For being on the Big Ten Network.
Texas Tech, Oregon, that was a great number. That'll be that in the future. That could really be one of the top games in a weekend if Texas Tech continues to improve. So Wisconsin, Washington State, I hope you guys watch that game. I watched that game because I'm a Washington guy. I am cheering for Washington State to win the whole thing this year. Them or Oregon State. I am a fan of both of those programs. Auburn, Cal. Again, that's all Auburn viewers. That's SEC viewers. It's not Cal. Stanford, USC. That's all USC people. Mississippi. So all these one-sided ones, you could actually put. These are the numbers that a school might drop by themselves. Although this Mississippi Tulane has a pretty good fan base, don't you guys think?
Not really. I think Tulane's fan base is pretty tiny. But Mississippi, I mean, that's another SEC game.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That was a ranked game too. That was kind of tight, in the third quarter. That was a good, fun game to watch. I mean, seriously, the games this weekend were awesome. I mean, I love that Oregon Texas Tech game. I was watching that. I was just enjoying every minute of that. It was such a good game.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I think most of this UCF Boise State number I actually thought was going to be higher. I must admit, maybe the late kick hurt the viewers from Florida, but I was expecting that to be closer to 500,000 or 600,000. Did that surprise you at all, you guys?
Go ahead, Immaculate.
No, because I would say most of your UCF fans are probably thinking this type of a game is behind them. I hate to say it.
Dang, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Boise's Boise. I mean, Boise State is a brand.
That's what I said too.
Boise's not really Boise anymore. But it was a good game. That's the thing, though. It was a good game.
It was a good game, yeah.
It's just I don't know. I'd have to really kind of go through here and see who else was on at the time. You've got the Florida McNeese game.
Is Notre Dame on here at all?
Yeah, Notre Dame's on.
Yeah, they're up at the top.
Oh, are they? I missed them. Where?
They're Notre Dame, North Carolina State, like six.
Oh, right here. Okay, yep, right here. They got 3 million. Yep, that sounds right.
That's generally what you can expect from Notre Dame. You're going to get your 3 million.
Agreed. Cincinnati-Pittsburgh was another really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow, that game had a lot of vitriol to it. I know. On the CW, and it still got 600,000. Is Florida Ohio in here? He sends me messages related to Cincinnati, and he said that basically that game was huge for Cincinnati. It's a building block game, and I think that being on the CW, he was impressed with that. So he thought the broadcast quality was really, really good.
I heard the broadcast quality was good. The announcer guys were, I guess, a little lacking, but whatever. It's CW. I mean, as long as the broadcast quality is good, I think that's probably what matters.
Very fair. All right. Anything else on here you guys want to mention before we move on?
I think the moral of the story here is like, anytime you see an FS1 game, FS1 gets really bad ratings. Always has, and always will, it seems like. I don't get it.
I do not get it all, because at least on my lineup, it's right there with the ESPN. So I think it just probably comes down to the matchups.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking historically at FS1, just getting over 1 million views on FS1's tough. Like really tough and stuff. And I'm curious on the Utah-Oregon State matchup in a couple weeks. It's a Friday FS1 game. That game should get almost 3 million, 2.5 viewers, because it's going to be borderline top 10 matchup. And I'm curious what's going to pull on a Friday night in FS1.
I am looking forward to what the number is, both of the Oregon game and the Utah UCLA game versus the BYU Arkansas game. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that number comes out, because last year they did pretty well. I can't remember what the number was, but it was over 1 million. And that was when BYU was independent. So we'll have to see if that's affected. I think it was 1.3 or something like that. So we'll have to see what it is after this next week. But starting to get exciting now, at least for BYU fans, because the next 10 games are P5 games, right?
Welcome to the big leagues, Bomber.
No weeks
You're
off.
here now. So... You are here in the big leagues. There's no more squawking or anything else. This is it. I mean,
that's what we've
Arkansas,
been trying to get.
Then at Kansas, and then Cincinnati. Yep. This is big boy football.
Yep.
And as an outsider, as a Ute fan and stuff, I'm really curious about this Arkansas game. I know we're going to get into it in a bit, but this Arkansas game for me is a big game. That's like a barometer test to see how you're going to fare in the Big 12, because I think that Arkansas would be upper echelon Big 12 team. I see them above average, not the elites, but competing possibly for Big 12 crown.
Right.
I always see Arkansas as if there was ever a Big 10 team that's in SEC territory in terms of how they play, because they always got some big guys on the line. They'll pound the ball. So I almost kind of see it as that's the style you're going against. So it's going to be a test as far as if your guys can take that kind of beef leaning on you all game long.
Harry Austin's talking here about the Spectrum negotiation. He says for ESPN, it's a big win. They got to say they have X many more subscribers, which is a huge win. So it gives them the ability to claim that those are actually subs direct rather than their Spectrum subs, and ESPN is just a feature. I don't know. Does that matter? That sounds like semantics to me, but maybe it makes a difference. What are you guys saying?
I don't know. It would be something we'd have to ask someone in the industry. To me, it
feels
I'm gonna ask
Bob.
That's
Bob about
that's what I would say. And to me, it just kind of seems like they both came together saying this. The longer this goes, the more this hurts both of us. Disney definitely gave Charter what they wanted.
Yeah,
and I think that in return, Charter worked with them to find a way that Disney could say, "Hey, look, we won too," even though I kind of think it's maybe less of a win, but we'll see.
I think that's very fair.
So let's talk about this Baylor game real quick.
Please do. Yeah, let's
recap this Baylor game. I know, guys, I know this game was ugly. I know that the Utes almost lost. I know, I realize everything there, but I do want to say that just pulling that type of game out is a new dynamic for the Utes. In years past, the Utes lose that type of football game, and here's an example at San Diego State 2 years ago. Utes won the big, the Pac-12 championship that year. They lost to San Diego State that year. That was a huge crushing loss. And so I think that just winning this game, although it was ugly, it's a huge win when you're on your third and fourth string quarterback. I think it was massive. I knew it was going to be a tough game. We talked about it all year long. This was going to be a freaking tough game going in. The field heat, on-field heat, was 130 plus degrees, 134, 135 degrees. Freaking cleats were melting, guys. Cleats were melting. This was a different dynamic going in there, different weather and everything, and getting a P5 win for the Utes was massive with a third string quarterback. So I know that a lot of people are poo-pooing Utah and not super high on Utah, but that win is massive to me. And I think You guys, I seriously am. I think the Utes are in the running for a playoff berth this year. I'm serious about that. I really am, and like I see the pathway now.
Okay.
That was the game that you had to get to see if it was going to happen possibly this year. I'm not saying it's a guarantee by any means, but I think the Utes can get it this year. Playoff is really the expectation, guys. It's not just the Pac-12 championship anymore. The Pac-12's gone. Who cares about a Pac-12 championship? This Utah team is the best Utah team that they've ever fielded, according to Whittingham, probably in its history of its program. It's time for the Utes to make that push. And really, I'm telling you guys, if they don't make the playoffs this year or they don't get to an elite bowl game, it's going to be a massive disappointment for Ute fans. I'm just telling you. And the expectation really is the playoffs.
That's why you got to win those OSC games in the beginning of the year. If you're thinking playoffs, if for someone who's maybe trying to just win the conference, they don't matter that much. But yeah, if you're trying to go to the playoffs, especially this year, maybe next year, not as much.
Yep.
But this year, yeah, that was a big game to win, even though people could say you barely pulled it out and it wasn't that impressive. It's still going to be looked at as a win.
And check it out. So Nate Johnson was just on the radio when I was driving home from work. And he even mentioned that too. The goal of this team is the playoff, right? Like people, you usually wouldn't hear that from a player. The goal is the playoff. It's not just winning the next game. It's not a conference championship. It's the playoff. So I think that all Ute fans need to understand the expectations. Like the expectations aren't winning the conference. It's not winning the next game. It's not beating USC. It's the playoffs. Well, that's the next level up, right?
You've won twice in a row now, right?
Yeah. And I want to see it. Yeah. I want the Utes to be in the playoff. I want it to happen so dang freaking bad, guys. I want them to compete for a national championship. I'm sick of these low expectations. Why can't we just say that we want to be in the running for a national championship? We've got a team that could get there.
All right. Is everybody done?
Go ahead.
All I want to say is two things. Beating Baylor in Baylor is always a good win. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good Baylor is. Waco is not the easiest place to play. I told you guys that for weeks. So if they beat them down there, that I don't care. A win's a win. 1-0 is better than 0-1. So that by itself is fantastic. The team is loaded. Nobody denies that Utah's in the best position, probably since 2008 at least, that they've had a chance to be in that national conversation, right? They started at 12. Or 14, they're going to go up as long as they keep winning. Nobody questions any of that. The only thing they question is the health of the team. You're not going to beat, you might be UCLA, but Oregon State, you're not going to beat USC. If you don't have, is it Keithy? That's the Keithy and quarterback, I'm spacing his name.
Yeah, Cameron Rising.
Cam. If they're not playing, they're not going to win those games in the Pac-12. Never mind Oregon. So, look, go out and win, right? Nobody here is downplaying how good Utah is. I think they just need to get healthy, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
They have one more bye week, which is this week, to get by Weber State, and then they're in the thick of it. And if they win out, absolutely they deserve to be in playoff. If they go 12-1, they should be one of the 4 teams at the end of the season. There's no doubt about it.
You guys have a tough schedule.
I think monstrous schedule.
I think you can go 11-2 in the playoffs this year if you.
I don't know.
Here's the logic, guys. I think they're going to give concessions to the last year of the Pac-12. Pac-12 hasn't made it in 10 years. I think there's going to be a concession with how good the Pac-12 is this year. I don't think they're going to leave the Pac-12 out. If you're a 2-loss champion, I think you get in the playoff this year because of the concessions.
It depends how every other school does in every other conference. You can't say that flat.
That's how I see it.
Okay, 11-2 with
11-2 Utah.
Win, okay,
in the playoff
does not get in over a 12-1 in any of the other conferences.
I don't
look
know.
at it this way: Georgia,
I just don't.
Michigan, Florida State, and you got one spot left if all those teams win out.
Kansas State is really good. They're for real.
It's tough, but if someone can win out in this pack, then I agree 100%.
Yeah. Sure, you go undefeated.
But can you actually win out? And if you're getting 2 losses, you're getting 2 losses in your conference because you're not going to lose, Weber State. You're not going to lose that. So your losses would both be in conference. I don't even know if that gets you into the conference championship game.
That's the thing, is if you can sneak in the conference championship game with 2 losses and you can avenge the loss that you had in the regular season, I think, guys, I'm telling you, like, this is the kind of stuff that happens in sports. Like, Pac-12 is all of a sudden loaded, arguably the best conference in the land. You're not going to leave them out. They've been left out for 8 years and they're about to dissolve. They're going to get a team in. They're going to want and be incentivized to get a team in. I think it's going to be a 2-loss team. I really do.
But if you have Michigan, Georgia, Texas, and Florida State all winning out,
they're not going to win out.
Look, that Texas team is better than people want to give them credit for. Their offensive linemen are averaging at like 350 pounds. That team is gross. Like I don't know where they just came out of nowhere with that team, but that team is really good. And Florida State is stacked with talent. They were so undercoached. If they are not even close to their potential. Anyways, I know, Bomber, you probably got some thoughts on that too, but I like what you're saying. That it's tough. And if someone comes out of that pack with a top end record, then yes, I think they're in. But with 2 losses, that's going to be tough this year.
Let's and the season will play that out, right? We'll be having this conversation for the next 10, 11 weeks. So we're not going to solve it here tonight.
No.
Really good content. But at the end of the day, if you're watching this channel, you must know that even though I'm a BYU homer, I absolutely think Utah deserves to get credit if they win all their games or close.
100. So, anyone in the pack, anyone.
No one's going undefeated in the pack, guys. Like, so we're having 1 or 2 losses. Probably a champion.
I agree with that. Pickle says, "Hey, Bomber, remember I said Utes would be 2-0 without rising." I don't remember that, Pickles, but I believe you. Yeah, you win. You beat me.
Nice job, Pickles. You're the man.
Cougar Jack says, with NIL, transfer portal, whatever, can universities now pay an athlete any amount of money to pay them without disclosure of any kind? This never seems to be publicized. Universities don't pay the players. The NIL pays the players. It's against the rules currently for the university to pay them. They would have to have some rule changes for the universities to basically take them on as an employee, and that hasn't happened yet.
Aren't those numbers disclosed as well too? The NIL payments?
They're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Whether they are or not, I don't know. But that's
supposed to be the difference between now and the Bagman era. Is that it's visible.
CKS says, not really pretty, but so far skirting wins with sub QB play. As bad as it seemed, you won't beat Utah scoring 13 or Florida 11. D carrying Utes right now. Nobody denies that. Defense played well.
CK is a diehard Ute fan. I want to give him kudos, or her, CK. Seriously, like I see you all over the place represented for the Utes and stuff. So kudos to you. And like, I want to know if I'm going psycho here, because I'm taking the filter off. I'm saying the playoff. I want the playoff. It's Utes. It's time to make the playoffs. It's time to talk about the playoffs, not hiding anything. It's time to communicate what we want and the expectations. Nate Johnson just said it. I'm saying it. I'm going to pound it all year till the Utes lose. CK, am I going crazy? Tell me that as another Ute fan here. Check me, please.
There was a comment, I can't remember who it was since I've since passed it, but what do we think the ratings will be on the Big Ten Network, Washington and Michigan State?
Wait, this Peacock game, right?
Yeah, it's on Peacock. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did I say?
Big Ten Network.
I meant Peacock. If I didn't say that, that's what I meant.
Maybe $1 million.
Yeah, I'm thinking that same.
You think it's that high?
Yeah, I think part of it, is people, because of all the scandal around Michigan State right now, there's going to be some attention to it. And Washington's got a good amount of fans. And they probably want to see how they're going to fare against a Big Ten team. So I think it's $1 million. I mean, Michigan got a pretty astonishing number on Peacock.
Yeah, it was almost 3. But
yeah, Michigan fans just watch Michigan wherever it is, though.
The problem is are people going to boycott it just because? I think that's maybe
because of Michigan State. Mel Tucker.
Yeah,
boycott it.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the reason.
Yeah, I think that it's. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Immaculate. It's probably going to go the other way. People are going to have some intrigue for a week and maybe tune in for a second. Okay. But
I think it's a fair question.
It's definitely a fair question. I think it approaches $1 million
several times. I'm not sure what his deal is. I sent it to him 2 different times. All right. Jim Neighbors is supposed to be coming. John Neighbors, sorry.
Are you going to lay into Neighbors, Bomber? Are you gonna tell them how BYU?
Why would I do that?
Arkansas?
Lay into them? Do I lay into anybody? That's not my speed.
Come on, I want to hear. I want to hear that. Give me that BYU banter.
All right, sorry about that, John. I thought I sent you that. No big deal.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I was just making sure I didn't go and miss it.
No, it's always my mistake. And whenever somebody comes on, even if it's your mistake, it's actually my mistake. So, all right, we're gonna let Immaculate go. We're gonna have you for about 25 minutes. So,
catch you guys a little bit later.
We'll see you in a minute. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. All right. So introductions. Nathan Brown, the Wild Ute. How you doing, John?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, actually. Doing pretty good. I mean, it's early enough in the season where I can't get too pissed off about anything just yet. So I guess we'll see.
All right. Well, let's talk a little Arkansas BYU. So were you here for the game last year? Did you watch it on television?
No, I actually had a chance to go out to Provo last year. That was my like me and my buddies. We always plan one road trip every year for Razorback football, and when we saw that game got scheduled, we're like, oh, we have to go, have to go to that game and have to check out Provo. And I'll be honest, like it was awesome. Like we all loved it. It was an awesome trip, beautiful place. Like fans were awesome, weather was perfect, and obviously the game went our way too, so that was helpful.
Right.
But no, that was an awesome place, and the fans were awesome again. Like I can't speak highly enough about Provo and BYU. It was a great trip.
What was your favorite part about it?
That's
John.
Go ahead.
Man, like honestly, just the beauty of it, because like I'm from Fayetteville, like actually where Arkansas's like university's at, and we have the Ozark Mountains that are there, and Fayetteville is always one of those places that's voted one of the best places to live because it is an awesome place, and it's very beautiful. It's got a lot of hills. There's a lot of things to it, and I love it. And so like when I got the chance to go out to Provo and just seeing those mountains and to see that scenery, and to kind of be on, I haven't been to the West Coast or out to the West very often, and so just to see all of that and to like kind of just witness it was incredible. I mean, I'm a big natural beauty fan. Like I love looking at stuff that even if it doesn't appeal to anybody else, I think it's pretty cool. And so I think that just I hear about it, but once you see it in person and just seeing how incredible it is, for all of its natural beauty was a really cool experience.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
We both live here, so we really appreciate the mountains for where they are too. Just a side note, my mother grew up in Utah, and was here her whole life till she got married, moved to Washington State, which is where I was raised. And every 2 or 3 months she would have sort of a missing home type of a situation, and she would go along the river and along the Columbia River, and I always thought that was the greatest place on earth to live. She would get weepy because she missed the mountains. So, and I'm sure where you're at, and I've been in your neck of the woods, talk about greenery. You guys have mountains, but they're all covered with trees, so as far as it looks like, they're long rolling hills of trees. So I really appreciate Arkansas. I was trying to make it to this game. I couldn't get enough mileage points, unfortunately. But please tell us. So you saw last year our defense was horrible, right? It was drop 8. It was really no defense. And I'm sure you guys had a fun time. It was joyful to watch and didn't have to really work for it. Have you seen this new BYU defense this year? Have you watched a couple games and see how they do things differently?
I mean, I've just seen a few highlights of it. I haven't really had a chance to watch many games of it too. But, the thing is like, it could be chalked up to BYU having a bad defense. But, to be honest, like Arkansas just had a really good offense last year too. I think they ranked 13th in total offense last season in the country. So, I mean, I think it's just a combination of both things. But to answer your question, no, I have not seen too much of BYU's defense just yet. I haven't really got into my whole previewing of the team itself, but that'll probably happen tomorrow at some point in time. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to check it out.
Okay, so John, what's your overview of this Arkansas team? Like, where is this team like talent wise compared to years past? Like, what's the expectation from Arkansas fans?
Well, the expectation is actually pretty high because Arkansas went 6-6 last year, and no one was happy about it. Like Sam Pittman wasn't happy about it, and the reason being is because even though Arkansas went 6-6. They were 7 points away from 9 wins. Like they should have beaten Texas A&M. They were a much better team than Texas A&M, but they didn't win the game. And I know everyone gets mad at, well, you weren't better than if you won the game. I'm like, listen, how many times do you see it happen often in college football where a team that is a better team loses to an opponent that's not as good as them. Like, it happens, and it's not an insult. I'm just telling you, like, Arkansas should have beaten A&M last year. They should have beaten Liberty for sure, because that was a tough loss, and they should have beaten Missouri. Like, those 3 games right there, Arkansas should have won them all. And if they did, they're 9-3. And if they're 9-3, everyone's popping champagne bottles. They're excited, possibility of getting to 10 wins with the bowl win. So it didn't happen that way, though. And so this year, there was a lot of changes made in the coordinator position. You have new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. You have a lot of new faces in the defense too, which is a huge upgrade because Arkansas was dead last in college football. Not last in the SEC, dead last in college football in pass defense. It was awful. And so they've replaced a lot of those guys. They've changed a lot of things. They still got KJ Jefferson, who's arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. Rocket Sanders, which he won't be playing this weekend, which is huge, but he's an incredible running back. So the expectations was just really high of, all right, you went 6-6 last year. This needs to be a year where you get to that 8-win mark or more, or else people are going to be very disappointed.
So the coach you guys got, is this his 3rd year or his 2nd year?
Sam Pittman is entering into his 4th season.
Okay, 4th. So, yeah. You guys love him, right? From everything I've been able to follow on Arkansas, you guys like him as a coach, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, listen, you got to understand where Arkansas came from, because the year before they had the worst college football coach to ever be hired in the history of college football by the name
Petrino?
of Chad. No. It was Chad Morris.
Okay.
I love me some Petrino. Petrino's my guy. I love Petrino. But no, yeah, it was Chad Morris who went back-to-back seasons of 2-10.
Wow.
So yeah. Like, I mean, you're talking about just the worst things of all time. So yeah, then before that, he had Brett Bielema, which he had a year or two that was fine, but he had some off the field stuff that was going on, and it just wasn't a fit. So Arkansas went through kind of this lull and went to the bottom of the bottom with back-to-back 2-10 seasons, and they were trying to find a new coach, and there was place like it wasn't a hot commodity job because you're coming off of, like, Arkansas had won 1 SEC game in 3 straight years. Wow. So it was really bad. But then Sam Pittman, who used to be an offensive line coach at Arkansas under Brett Bielema, loved Arkansas. And he had even said and told everybody that if the only place he would ever leave Georgia as the offensive line coach where he was at was to be the Arkansas head coach. And he begged for it. He wanted it. He interviewed for it. He did everything he possibly could. And then Hunter Yurchek, the athletic director, gave him a shot. And he was beside himself. He was overwhelmed, and he was so excited and so happy to be at Arkansas. And everything, people were pretty excited just to see where it went. It was still an unknown because he had never been a head coach before. And then COVID hit. And so then that happened in his first year. And the SEC was like, okay, so you're going to play 8 SEC games, Arkansas. And we're going to add 2 more. So you're going to have 10 SEC games. And we're going to give you Georgia and Florida. Even though you're coming off of back-to-back 2-10 seasons, we're going to give you literally the toughest schedule that it's ever been known to man. And Sam Pittman won 3 games. Now, there probably could have been more, but everyone's like, wow, okay, so he won 3 SEC games. That's more SEC games than Arkansas has won in 4 years combined.
Right.
So he did that. Next year, he goes to 9-4, and it's an incredible year, like one of the best years Arkansas has had in quite some time. And then we talked about this last season going down. So the point is, like, yeah, I think everybody likes Sam Pittman. They really want him to succeed. There's a lot of redeeming things about him, especially because he wants to be at Arkansas. But at the end of the day, you got to win. And in the SEC, you either win or get out. And it's very competitive. And Arkansas feels good about their chances this year. But, they like them now. But once the losses start building up, people can turn on them pretty quickly.
So a question, so about this game, I know that you haven't done the overview yet. But just general thoughts right now. How do you think that Arkansas should attack BYU? I mean, what's Arkansas' strength on offense, and what's the play you think as far as philosophy in this game?
Well, it's supposed to be the rushing attack because that's when Arkansas has done good under Sam Pittman each and every year. Like Rocket Sanders rushed for 1,400 yards last year.
Right.
But the first 2 games this season, Arkansas has done pretty poorly in the rushing attack, and it's weird. It's almost like seeing somebody that's like a next level. It's like seeing Lincoln Riley have a bad quarterback play. It's kind of like this doesn't fit. Like this is just what you're supposed to be known for.
Right.
And so it's been weird to see. And so I think some people are maybe holding out that, oh, well, they had 2 opponents that they should have been better than, and maybe they're holding some stuff in, or maybe they're trying to still figure some things out or whatnot. But they want to be a team that runs the ball effectively. And even though Rocket Sanders is going to be out this game, they have some talented running backs. But the strength is going to be KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, that's the guy I'm scared of too.
Yeah, he's the dude's a truck. Like I don't know if you all saw the play, but against Western Carolina, there was a linebacker that had dead to rights, just blitzed in through the gap and hit him with full force. And the guy fell down and KJ just bounced off of him.
Yeah.
Like he and against Kent State, he was running forward and he barreled down to get a first down. And a guy leaned down and hit him too. KJ popped right up. The other guy, I want to say he actually separated his shoulder and had to come out of the game.
Holy smokes.
So KJ is built. He's 6'3", 245 pounds. He's got speed. He's great at improvisation. He's it. He's the offense. And he can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. He can beat you to where you think you got him tackled and he'll get out of it. I think you guys even saw that play last year against BYU where he broke a bunch of tackles and made the throw. He
had more than one of those.
Yeah,
John. Yeah. He probably had his game of a lifetime against BYU last year. He played so well.
Yeah,
and it was fun to watch. Actually, he's very athletic, and
yeah,
it's hard to beat those guys that can do the RPO without really any challenge. He can throw, he can take the ball himself, or he can obviously hand it off or do other things. So I think that's the scary part. Is the quarterback. I don't think anybody's worried about the running back or the receivers. It's stopping that quarterback.
Yeah, and Arkansas actually has a pretty serviceable backup, and so hopefully you don't have to see him. For Arkansas' sake, you don't have to see him because that means that KJ got hurt. But yeah, I mean, if KJ's good, if KJ has a good game, they're going to win. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So it's going to be, can BYU's defense tackle him? Like, can they tackle him? Can they, because here's the thing: if he starts to get running. And, then you have to start having QB spies start watching him. Then he'll beat you with his arm. So, I mean, he's just very deadly, and they're going to have to make sure that you try to contain him.
So, I know you haven't done the preview yet, but just off the top of your head, seeing what the last two games were, taking it the history and everything that you turned out last week, where do you see the final score of this game being?
I honestly don't think it's going to be high scoring like it was last year because I think BYU scored, I think 35 points, right?
Yeah, BYU wasn't shut out by any means.
Yeah, like so Arkansas's defense has improved. I'm sure BYU's defense has improved. So I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as what we saw last year. But I could see it being something. I still think Arkansas is going to win. I think it'll be a closer game, and being at 6:00 and the atmosphere is going to be extremely energized. It's going to be a packed out place there. People are going to be fired up. So I could see it being something like Arkansas wins by a final score of I could see 28-21 or 28-24, something to that extent where it could be one possession, it could be a nail biter down to the wire, but I think it's honestly going to come down to which defense plays better because I think Arkansas is going to get some things on offense, and I think even BYU will get some offense. But who's going to make the plays? Who's going to cause the turnovers? Who's going to make the mistakes? I think that's who's going to end up winning this game.
BYU has a much improved backfield this year, defensive backfield. I think they've already got 4 interceptions in 2 games, 4 or 5 interceptions. So if you guys keep it on the ground, I think that's definitely where your strength is anyway, because you wouldn't want to throw against a stacked defense in the defensive back if you didn't have to, but you might not need to. I definitely see you guys running the ball quite a bit. Maybe half your drives will start with two off tackles, right? Just over and over again. Just run it until you stop it, and it could be a long game for BYU. But anyway.
Well, here's the thing: is Arkansas has not done it very well at all so far this year against Western Carolina and Kent State. Like Kent State had Central Florida run for 400 yards on them, and then the next week against Arkansas, they shut down Arkansas's rushing attack pretty quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it's not that there's not talent there. Just from my point of view. And this is where BYU could be able to really cause some problems. Arkansas's offensive line and running backs, they're still figuring things out. Like they may not all be on the same page. They may not be always there at the point of attack. The running backs have not been hitting the right holes at the right time. The offensive line has not been, blocking the people. So there's been some confusion there. And that could be something that BYU could take advantage of. Because, I think KJ's got a great arm, and I really like the Arkansas wide receivers. But if you shut down Arkansas's rushing attack and you force KJ to do nothing but throw, that's, I think, as good as he is as a thrower, that's something that could really be problematic for KJ and for the offense in general.
You have another question?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just, before we stepped into this conversation, and also, John, just to give you a heads up, so this is the Holy Rivals. We've got a Utah and BYU component to our show. No. So it's good because we always cross-check each other's thinking a little bit,
Well, hey, that's good. Hey, listen, Arkansas is playing Utah in a few years, so
right. I'm coming down to Fayetteville for that game, by the way. So I can't wait for that. Plus, like, what is like isn't there some like a special thing that you guys do down at the stadium where like it's called like the hog call or like suey or something? Like, tell us about that because a lot of folks out here in Utah don't really know a lot of the traditions. So.
That's true. It's our thing. We call the hogs, as they like to say it, and it's something that you can't really do necessarily like as one person. Like some things you can make it work, but it's like you have to have a group of people to really do it. But essentially, when you hear it, it's people just literally going with up the arms and doing woo, pig, suey.
Yeah,
they do it 3 times, and at the end they say Razorbacks. It's kind of their thing. But at the kickoff, you'll be able to hear it to where right before the ball is kicked, everyone just holds the woo, and then you just hear this.
I remember hearing that
going, and then when the ball's kicked, they say pig suey. So, yeah, that's their thing is the hog call. There's that they do the hog call. They do the Arkansas Razorbacks call like a lot of the typical things that a lot of teams do. The one side says Arkansas, the other one says Razorbacks.
Right.
So they do that, and they have a few other like just random stuff. But as far as unique stuff, the hog call is definitely the biggest one, and it's the weirdest one too. Because I love it because I grew up here, and but like if you're an outsider walking in, you're like, this is the dumbest thing. You got a bunch of hicks calling some pigs, like what does that mean? How's that work?
Man, I own it. That's great stuff.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
football's all about.
We do, and I know you guys probably have your own traditions too, but I will always go to the grave of saying that Arkansas has got like there's no other Razorback. Like no other team in any major sport has a pig for a mascot.
Right.
So
exactly right.
I'm like, hey, listen, we own it. We own it. We have and that's another actually a cool thing too is we have a live mascot named Tusk. It's a live boar and it's huge and it looks like a Razorback and it's really mean. But we bring it to the field and there's a family here in Arkansas, the Stokes family, and unfortunately, Keith Stokes, who started the whole thing, he just recently passed away a few weeks ago. He was the number one guy, but they always bring Tusk. That's what his name is, and they have him. He's a live Razorback, and you can have kids feed him and all that stuff. So we got some random stuff like that. That's really cool.
That's great stuff, man. Yeah. Again, that's what football's all about. College football. This is amazing. So as the outsider, I wrote down some analytics, guys. Okay, for this game here. So really the line's hovering around 9 points. It's kind of fluctuating anywhere from 10 to almost 8 and stuff. So it's moving in that direction for the Razorbacks here. So FPI says that the Razorbacks are the 36th best team in the nation. FPI for ESPN is BYU at 70, best team in the nation. Our over-under is 47 points, and the ESPN's matchup predictor is saying about 79% likelihood that Arkansas wins. Last thought here, too, this kind of goes into the ESPN FPI, but the talent composite from 24/7 Sports has the Razorback roster 32nd in the nation, 1 5-star, 27 4-star kids on the roster, BYU at 74 with 6 4-star kids on the roster. So background information there, just a little bit of data and everything. But as the outsider, how I see this, like I've seen enough BYU and Utah games that I know that when BYU or Utah are big underdogs in games, they usually ball out and everything. I know this game is going to be in Arkansas. I know the crowd's going to be nuts. I know that the calls are going to be going all around and everything. I think that one of the X factors in this game is actually the LSU game actually coming up here. And I'm wondering if Arkansas is going to be looking ahead a little bit because of the blowout last year.
I think that may have been a possibility if they had played well last week. Like if they had blown out Kent State
right,
and had blown out Western Carolina, I think I'm like, okay, that could be a possibility. But since they played pretty poorly last week, offensively especially, I think that's like y'all ain't there yet. Like you still got a lot of work to do. And also Arkansas is not a place that you can overlook anybody. I mean, it's there's elements to maybe teams that win all the time to overlook, but again, like Arkansas is not won enough to overlook anybody. And, I got to get used to it saying BYU is a Big 12 team now. Like it's like a Power 5 team. It's kind of a weird deal when last year they weren't, now they are. But right. I mean, listen, if you got it, BYU's got a lot of history. They got a lot of tradition. They've had a lot of great players. And, it's not like you're welcoming in a Western Carolina like Arkansas played. Like it's BYU. It's a legitimate opponent that will beat you if you don't take them seriously. So for the sake of Arkansas, they better be taking it very seriously. And I think they will, especially since they struggled so much last week.
I think the Cougars are going to keep this game close. And I think that it's going to really come down to turnovers, like in a game like this, of course. It's kind of a weird game to kind of predict, though. It's kind of like to feel out and everything. And I think it's going to go quite different. Like you were thinking, too. I think it was Bomber's prediction, one of you guys' predictions, too, like a lower scoring game. And it's going to be, I think, a 3 or 4 point game. I think the Hogs probably pulled out in this one, but like it's going to be a nail biter.
Yeah.
And
I think
too close for comfort.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a fourth quarter game. And I'd even throw in, too, that, like when you're talking about, the game itself and, what could transpire, you talk about BYU in secondary and having, I think you said 4 interceptions this year. Because Arkansas is actually so far they have 2 pick sixes in 2 games. That's cool. Their thing. So yeah, you may have some ball hawking in here, and that's why you talk about it's hard to predict. It is hard to predict. For all I know, this could be a very low scoring game where neither offense gets it going because the defenses have improved. I mean, it's very possible, but I think regardless, it's going to be a close game. And no matter what, no matter who ends up winning, it's going to be something that goes into the fourth quarter.
So, since you are from the SEC, we try to get outsider views on how BYU and Utah are perceived, right? This really matters to both you and I, and we're different brands. BYU has been a brand differently than Utah has been a brand. So could you quickly just break down what your perception is of both these universities?
Sure. So I can tell you the first thing that I think of with BYU. We'll start with them. I think of Zach Wilson's mom. For BYU.
That's fantastic.
And well, there's a reason behind it. So I'm a New York Jets fan.
Okay.
And obviously my season's going great.
Jeez, that was crazy last night. I watched the whole game. That was awesome.
I was like, man, that's almost the most Jets thing ever. So it's okay.
It really is.
It's like the Aaron Rodgers thing didn't even happen. It's like, yeah, you're back to Zach Wilson again. Great.
Right.
But I always think of Zach Wilson's mom because I do a radio show too, and I was following that whole saga of like the kind of the funny things behind the scenes of like what was going on and his mom and like following her on Instagram and just seeing some of the funny stuff she was saying. So that's honestly what I think about BYU. And then Utah, I would say that like I always think of Urban Meyer, which I may not be the like most flattering thing, but I just remember that was probably the first time I had heard of Utah was when there was like there's this guy named Urban Meyer that was undefeated at Utah. And then of course he went to Florida and we saw the success that came along with it. But yeah, I just, so I remember those like moments, but I will say that when I was in Provo, I got to see at least a little bit of how much hatred there is between BYU and Utah. Like it's a very, like, it's almost SEC-esque of like how much hatred is there. Because
we say it's top 5, so we're kind of slighted. So
like we were in an Uber from, I'm trying to remember where we were coming from out of Provo, but we were going back to our hotel, and the Uber driver was actually a Utah grad, I think. And he was talking about, he was asking us about where we were from. We told him we were here for the game in Arkansas, and he just goes on this rant about like how he hopes that Arkansas beats the fool out of them. He like all of this stuff and says like, man, I can't stand those dudes. He's like at Utah, we're more of like the normal type school where we have like parties, like we have a good time. Like we're more of the classical traditional college football programs. Like in the BYU people, man, they're just, it's different. It's weird. It's like, so I was like, man, that guy, he had a lot of hatred built up. So I was like, okay.
welcome to Utah, John.
Right. Yeah,
very much.
But I was kind of happy because, to be honest, Arkansas has no rivalry in football. I mean,
right, okay,
like
Oklahoma, right?
No, we haven't played Oklahoma ever. Like,
well, you're going to here, so
yeah. I mean, our closest thing might be Texas because
I thought Texas was from the SWAC days.
Yeah, from the Southwest Conference, we played Texas all the time, and that builds it to a rivalry. But here's the thing: this is what it can be good and bad. Arkansas, like for Texas, for instance, even if Arkansas and Texas had a rivalry, who does Texas hate the most, though? Oklahoma or Texas A&M, right. Not Arkansas. Yeah. Arkansas kind of had a thing with LSU, but who does LSU hate the most? Probably Bama, maybe Ole Miss, maybe Mississippi State. Arkansas had a little something going with Tennessee, but who's Tennessee hate more? Florida, Georgia. Like, Arkansas may hate some teams and feel like a lot of hatred towards them, but they're never anyone's number one hated team. Like no one hates Arkansas more than anyone else. Like you guys probably, I'm sure that there's Utah fans that hate BYU the most and BYU fans that hate Utah the most. But Arkansas does not have anyone like that. So we're kind of in this like hodgepodge group, and it does suck because at the end of the year when it's rivalry week in college football, they're like, hey, here, get Missouri. Like, oh, great. Awesome. Yeah, it's like, well, they don't have a rivalry either, so they're trying to turn it into a rivalry, and it's just not there. There's not that much hatred, and just kind of sucks. So yeah, I'm almost envious of anybody that has a true, legitimate rivalry with somebody.
There's a real rivalry here, but the Ute fans know what you're talking about because Ute fans tried to manufacture that with USC,
which was a joke.
And USC thinks Notre Dame's the rival, but
USC
really
wants no part of Utah being on the same.
And so so definitely know what you're talking about there, but really, it's the holy war. That's always been the
say USC. Like I think of Notre Dame. I think of UCLA, like a lot of other teams before I would think of Utah. So
I know you're paying, my friend.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't understand why in college sports, and I've said this many times. Just why can't people just let it be organic? Just if it becomes hated,
right?
But we try to make a trophy out of everything. We're like, we're going to have the battle for the Golden Boot against LSU, and then we got the battle line rivalry against Missouri. And I'm like, can we just stop making trophies of things that doesn't that? There's nothing there. It's like it's just so frustrating. But I've always said that Arkansas is more of a basketball school, anyways. Like we love football, but we're more of a basketball school, so that's really where we take our druthers at. So
realignment could make a difference, right? Bringing in Texas, bringing in Oklahoma, Texas again. That could be. I love that Texas. I'm older than you guys. I remember those Southwest Conference days where Arkansas and Texas were as bad as any BYU Utah game I've ever seen. They hated each other. They were constantly doing personal foul penalties on the games. They were literal war for 60 minutes. And when that broke up, I thought that really sucked. So maybe it comes.
Well, the SEC, I will say that, they're trying to figure out exactly how the schedule is going to be with the realignment. But from what I've understand is that every SEC team in football is going to have like 3 permanent opponents to play every year. And Texas and Arkansas is going to be one of those. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
so great. I think everybody's in favor of that. And, fun fact, maybe people don't know, I'm sure you have heard the SEC chant a few times at bowl games and whatnot that everyone hates. Well, here's the
remind me. Maybe.
Yeah. SEC. That chant.
Oh, that's it.
It's just repeating SEC.
Yeah. It's like anytime, if the Alabama beats Ohio State in the national championship game and it's towards the end of the game, just hear everyone in the car going, SEC. Because, we like to piss off everybody else that's not part of our conference because we think we're superior. Right. But fun fact that Arkansas actually started that chant because when they left the Southwest Conference and they were going to the SEC, Arkansas won the Southwest Conference the year before they left, I believe. It was either year before. But when they beat Texas, they started chanting it to really a big middle finger to Texas saying, hey, we're joining the SEC.
Right.
And you're staying back here. So that's where it all started. The team that joined it in 1992 in Arkansas is actually who originated the SEC chant. So
that's interesting.
Fun fact.
Right. You have one more question. We got to let him go.
Yep. So really, what's the X factor going to be in this game, you think, John? For Arkansas, who's the X factor?
For Arkansas, it's going to be the running game. It's going to come down to that. If they can't run the ball, they'll lose. If they can, they'll win. To me, it's as simple as that. Because I think that defensively, I think they've really shown some promise this year. The defensive line is nasty for Arkansas. It's really good, really deep. Does a lot of good rotations. The secondary I've been very impressed by, and even the linebackers. The linebackers have been much more improved. So I just think overall the defense is there. And I'm not worried about it. I'm not saying BYU won't score, but I'm not concerned about it. But it's going to come down to running the ball. I know KJ will get some throws in. I know that they'll open it up a little bit. They'll get in the screen game. But can they run the ball? It's as simple as that. If they do, they win. If they don't, they lose. Plain and simple.
Gotcha.
That's a great breakdown. John, we really appreciate you coming on the show. I know these SEC and Mountain West type schools don't meet very often. But we do talk about cross country type stories. So if you don't mind, we'll keep you on our contact list. And if you ever need us for either BYU or Utah, hit us up, certainly. But if you don't mind, if we have something come up that involves the SEC or Arkansas, we'll give you a call again.
Big 12, Pac-12. Weird guys, John.
Hey, listen, I'll
just the Big 12.
I'm about to say, I'm just glad that you guys are actually joining a real conference now instead of
we are too. At least I am.
Yeah, being out there in the what is it now? The Pac-2 at this point in time?
Yeah,
the Pac-2. Yeah,
Pac-2. Well, like I said, I'm happy for all the schools that got out of the Pac-12 because I felt like they always handle things about as horribly as you could possibly do it, and I thought the commissioner was the most overpaid person I've ever seen in my life. So I'm like,
sure.
they need to get out of that. I don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, for crying out loud, you got Stanford in the ACC. Like, what are we doing? I don't know what's going to be, but
I don't know either.
Yeah, but hopefully there'll be some more matchups, and I'm hoping that Utah game stays true because I don't know what the schedule is going to look like, but I do want to go back out and party it up in Salt Lake City. It should be a good time. Which
it'll be a different experience, I promise you.
Real quick, fun fact before I go: that BYU Arkansas game. Well, you remember what happened that same night when Arkansas beat BYU is when Utah beat USC.
Oh, hey,
Salt Lake City. And I had a buddy of mine go to both games, and he was one of the ones that rushed the field too in the crowd. I'm like, man, what a great day for football!
Wow,
that game, and then you go to see Utah beat USC. Yeah, he had a great time with that one. So I was like, man, I was pretty jealous. But yeah, you guys got a lot of great atmosphere out there, and it's a really good time. And I would encourage anybody who's never been out there to watch a football game to do so because it's really awesome place. So looking forward to seeing Utah here in a few years.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, John. Have a great night, and we'll be talking soon.
Hey, no problem. Hogs by 90, boys. Woo pig.
Okay, we'll see you later. All right. Well, there you go. I think that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. Yeah.
We got a comment here from Rick Banovich, one of our members. He says, not panicking over two low-level opponents, but the O-line, Robbins, and Malik Moore have struggled. So he's talking about BYU players. And, games were not great against the two teams they just played. But yeah, we do have concerns on the rushing game. There's no doubt about it. Have either of you guys watched the BYU, either one of the last two games?
I watched a little bit of it, and I saw the box score and kind of listened to the chatter and stuff. I think that you guys have like a stud backup running back, don't you? Like a four-star?
We do, yeah.
What's his name?
He's from Texas. I'm trying to remember his name.
Sounds like he needs some playing time to me.
J.L. Martin, maybe LJ Martin is what it is.
LJ
Martin. Yeah. And he was a freshman stud in Texas last year. I think he rushed for the most yardage in Texas. His high school last year. So he is a great player. And never mind if LJ plays and plays well, great. Robbins was brought in from UNLV. He's a huge back. He's struggled. So it really just depends. We've also had our two main receivers have been out. Primarily, who are missing the most is hang on, I'll look it up. I want to make sure I get his name
Epps, right?
Yeah, Cody Epps. I wanted to bring up his stats right now. Cody's supposed to be there, and they're going to need him. I wasn't sure if he was going to play or not, but a headline here from Kalani says he's up for it. So
I tell you what, like this is the kind of game that I can see. This game, it reminds me a lot of that Oklahoma BYU game a decade ago or plus, right? Like it just doesn't. No one's given the Cougars a chance.
I know.
And like that's a good place to be. No expectations. Like I mean,
BYU plays best that way. So does Utah.
Right.
BYU and Utah have always played better when they're underdogs. For the history of the programs,
I know.
Nationally, they've always played better.
I wouldn't be surprised to see this just be an absolute dogfight. Honestly, that's. Who knows who pulls out in the end and everything. I mean, this Arkansas squad, though, they've got a lot of talent on the roster. Surprised on how much and everything. But like in the SEC, it's tough. It's tough sledding because everybody has so much talent. But just like with Utah beating Florida, it doesn't mean that their coaching and everything else is put together, right? So
you guys are going to be on ESPN too.
Yep. Yes.
So this would be a good one to watch because I haven't actually seen much of BYU, but this one would be a good one to watch.
Got to shut down KJ Jefferson, though. I mean, that guy.
That quarterback, he is huge. He's 240 on light weight. He is easily 245, maybe 250. Guy is absolutely huge, and it hasn't affected his speed. If you watch that game from last year, he was still probably 4.5, maybe high 4.4s in his speed in straight line. It was ridiculous. So he was basically what the Florida quarterback was last year to Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was just incredible and very hard to tackle. So we'll have to see which team shows out for BYU, frankly.
What's your prediction? Let's start making some predictions.
Sure.
Here. So this BYU Arkansas game, honestly, is one of the feature games of the weekend. It really is.
I don't know. I was going to make my pick on Friday.
All right. You can save it.
Yeah, let's see what happens through the news. If Cody Epps plays, I think BYU has a shot. Let me put it that way. He's that good he's the difference maker. So I don't know. Immaculate, do you have any comments on it? Have you seen BYU play?
No, and I think going to Arkansas, I'd have to, at least for now, lean towards Arkansas.
Sure, of course.
But I wouldn't put it like out of reach for BYU to actually put up a win here and get the kind of the underdog win. But Arkansas is tougher than most people tend to give them credit for. You know, people talking about Arkansas looking past BYU, but I hope BYU doesn't look past Arkansas at the same time.
No.
Not after last year's.
Pasting. They this could set them off. If they have a great game, man, Kansas the next week, that could be something.
If you beat Arkansas, the BYU hype train is going to really hit 10 out of 10.
I think people will be paying attention. If you guys beat Arkansas, people will pay attention.
It's the type of it's actually a program defining game. SEC land, prime time, a lot of people watching, a lot of people cheering against you, and you come in a format. But we've done it before. Beat Tennessee at Tennessee.
That's right.
And BYU's won these road games. They beat Texas at Texas. There's not a harder place in the world to play than Texas and Austin in the middle of the day. And BYU beat them by 30 points. So they can do it.
I think it's pretty wild that Georgia Tech is going to Ole Miss at the same time, but that's going to be on the SEC network, and you guys are getting ESPN too.
It's because of BYU's brand power.
I think you're right. And yeah, because Georgia Tech isn't a really big pull, and Ole Miss isn't going to, on their own, beat both you guys in Arkansas. That's a good game. That should be a good game for people to watch that just want to watch a good game.
If it's a good game, you could get 4 million people watching that game. If it gets to halftime and they're in it, the number could be really high.
You think there's going to be a 4 million number for this BYU?
I'd go for,
if the game is competitive, I would say
2.5. Yeah, 2.5. If you guys get to 3, I think that's a win.
Because this game is on ESPN too. It's not.
I understand.
Trying to think what else is on here, but
it all depends. It all depends if they can stay in the game. If they get to halftime, they're down 20 points. Nobody's going to watch.
I'm with you. It's just surviving the first half and then making it close. You got to figure out how to get turnovers though on these guys. It's going to be tough, but if you can figure that out and shut down that running game,
right?
Because you've got Florida, Tennessee you're competing against, so that's going to make a lot of the SEC draw go away from Arkansas.
I agree with that. And I didn't know that it was up against Florida, Tennessee.
Yeah, that starts at 4:00, so it starts a half hour earlier too. So it's
okay.
That's kind of tough.
We'll have to see then. Maybe it doesn't get to 4. Maybe it only gets to a 1.5 or a 2.
Here's where it is. Tennessee is going to come out hard and fast in that game, in my opinion, and Florida's not going to be able to stop them. So by the time your game starts, that game might already be in hand.
Yeah.
So people will be looking for something else to switch to, and there you go. So
here's a note from Rick Banovich, making sure to check me. Thanks for being here, Rick. I have a short-term memory issue. I remember BYU beating Miami in 1990 because I was there. But remembering who won last week, I struggle with. He says, don't forget BYU has played very well in recent return matches. Baylor was in Provo, but Wisconsin was in Wisconsin, and they were ranked at the time. And that was actually a kind of a shocker.
I can see the Cougars upset Arkansas. Yeah. It just seems like it.
It certainly is the feel good pick. I don't know if they're going to do it or not. I'll probably pick them because I'm a BYU homer, but I don't know. We'll have to see if Cody Epps doesn't play. I'm definitely not picking him.
I think it's going to be tough sledding the week after at KU, though, especially if this is a hard fight.
Yes, I agree. Either way, it's going to be tough sledding at KU. And Cincinnati's now no joke, right? Cincinnati's come out, and they're actually playing good football. So it's going to be a hard season for BYU. There's no doubt about it. It took Utah 4 or 5 years to really get going with their recruiting and everything. It could easily take BYU 4 or 5 years. I don't think it will, but it could.
You really got to lift that recruiting apart, right? Like we're
of course, yes, absolutely.
That's gotta change. You got to get up like about 10 more pegs and everything, and those rankings and everything to start winning Big 12 games and competing for championships and stuff. So definitely.
I agree with that 100%. What's this 1.448 rating? What 0.8 rating?
Monkey was asking what the best ESPN2 rating was last weekend, and that was Ole Miss versus Tulane.
Okay.
Which I don't think that's going to get as high a rating as what the BYU Arkansas game will get.
No, I still think I would be shocked even against Tennessee, Florida. I still would be shocked if that doesn't get at least 2. Yeah. So,
what do you guys see happen in Tennessee, Florida? You see the Gators getting blown out?
Tennessee's going to blow them the hell out of.
I think
it's not even going to be close.
I sent you that text on Saturday. I think Florida may win 3 or 4 games.
I'm not too confident. They do not
look good. Has nothing to do with how Utah beat them. It's not a reflection of that at all. It's just their team is just not really good.
I mean, as a Ute fan, of course, you got to root for the Gators to win games and stuff. We'll see. I don't have much confidence in that squad, but if they upset Tennessee, that'd be big for the Utes. I mean, I'm hoping that happens. So I just don't see it.
Very possible, guys. I got to check out. I got a work meeting. So do you want to stick around and keep going?
Yeah, I think we'll shut it down for tonight. Yeah.
That sounds good.
All right, no problem. So we'll have a show tomorrow night. It's either going to be at 8:30 or 9 Eastern tomorrow. We're trying to get more games in the middle of the week because we're now getting trapped between Thursday night football and Monday night football and Saturday football. But we appreciate all the subscribers to the channel. We also appreciate all the people that have become paying members. That all matters to us. We really try to do everything we can, guys, to give you the product that we can and you guys require. Please let us know if we need to do more, though. Send you or me a DM and let us know what we can do to make things better. And you can even send something to Immaculate if you want, because he's tied with us every day. So we appreciate everybody being here tonight on a Tuesday. Thank you very much. Everybody stay out of trouble going into this next week. And you'll look for us tomorrow night and look for that reservation over the evening. We'll talk to you later. Everybody say peace out.
Take care, y'all.
Peace.